welcome back to my channel. My name is Bilikis. How are you all doing? Today's class is the continuation of our last class, which is on how to make this pattern we have here of a busty top with curves or corsets. So in case you have missed this class, I would advise you to just click on the link in the description box below. We use a simple basic bodice pattern to create this corset top you can see here, and trust me, it's very easy. And if today is your first time of checking out this channel, you're welcome. Please make sure you subscribe and tap on the notification bell to get notified each time we put up a video. Follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovation. My other channels are Pattern Drafting with Bilikis and Bilikis Kitchen. So back to today's class. From the last class, we made this pattern, and now I have placed it on the fabric to cut it out. So from the pattern, you can see where I note had ½ inch seam allowance. Can you see that? This is the loop area. I could have added seam allowance, but I just want it to be a little bit wide, so I'm just going to take ½ inch away from that. Then the front pattern, you can see ½ inch is being added to this part, and this part has to be on fold. This is the only part that has to be on fold. I'm going to open it up. Then for the curves, you can see I just added ½ inch all around the pattern. Can you see that? So ½ inch all around, because that was what we're supposed to do. Now let's open it up one after the other. First, the curve, you can see I just place it on fabric. Make sure right side or wrong side are facing each other. Here, wrong side are facing each other. Then I had to cut it out and then cut out the lining the same way for each side. These also have two. Make sure either the wrong side or the right side are facing each other for both the lining and the main fabric. And this tutorial is also for a reversible busted top with curves. Yes, so if you are making use of two different types of fabric, make sure you use another fabric as the lining. But in this case, I'm using a lining. But trust me, this same process is for a reversible bustier top. This is it. And then for the back, you can see I also make sure the fabric wrong side are facing each other, as you can see that. So also the lining, I have it too. Also for the loop, the same thing. So this doesn't necessarily have to be on fold. So for this part too, you can see that I'm still going to open it so well. And for this side, let me show you. This is what I have, because that part has to be on fold, and also the lining has to be on fold. And you see that. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the interfacing. Especially for a small size person or a medium size person, you necessarily don't have to pad your curves before you can wear a corset. Yes, the most important thing is your boning. So here now, since we're having a series, I'm just going to make a simple tutorial with just your interfacing. And here I made use of two types of interfacing. I use the lightest one, which is called the paper stay, and then the medium weight, which is popularly called normal gum stay here in Nigeria. So for the lining, I left that free. I did not attach any interfacing. But if you are making a reversible bustier top, make sure you use the lightest one on both the fabric and the lining. That is, if you are making use of another fabric, so use it the two ways. So I'm taking my time to explain this, please. So just use the lightest interfacing and glue it to both fabric. So for the lining, I left that free. I did that to all the fabric. Now coming to the curves, all I did is to use the medium weight. So looking at it, you can see it's so stable. So by the time you still wash it up, it's still standing. So that's what I did use. And for the lining, just to make it a little bit tough, I made use of this lightest one. So you could double it. So for instance, if you are making use of another fabric for this, you could double it or make use of the same medium weight interfacing. Just take note of that. But here I also make use of the paper stay. the lightest one because it's a lining, but for this I made sure I make use of the medium one, the normal gum stay. So having done all that, now we can start sewing it up. Open up the fabric. This is the front. You can see this is the main fabric and the lining. So the first thing you're going to do here is you have to join this part. We're going to have a boning case here, 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 and also at the back and the loop area. So what you're going to do now is this. Just make sure right side are facing each other. Then I'm going to join by 1/2 inch. Also do the same thing here. 1/2 inch, and I'm going to sew the lining the same way. Now let me show you the back. This is the back. As you can see that, what I'm going to do is to join this point together, 1/2 inch. Do the same thing here, 1/2 inch. Then you do the same thing to the lining before we attach the sides. Now let me open up the cups. So this is it. So one of these has to be for each side. This will be this way and here. So this is what we are going to have. Can you see that? So what I'm going to do in this case is to join this up. So I'm going to place it this way. Everything is going to match, don't worry about that. So I'll take to the sewing machine and just sew 1/2 inch to the upper part. I'm going to do the same thing to this side and do the same thing to the lining. I've sewn the pieces together, so this is the lining. When you're making your own top, make sure you use a matching lining so that the thread could just match. But I'm using a lighter lining because of the boning casing, so I want you to see all the same. So I'm using a brown thread, so it's definitely going to be obvious on this type of lining. So having done that, I made sure I press open the seams. Can you see that? So that's what I did. And for the back, after joining it up, I opened up the seam. So the next thing you're going to do for this stage is that you have to join it by the sides. The right side of the front is facing the right side of the back. On our basic bodies, for the side seam, we usually leave 1 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to sew in 1 inch side seam allowance on both sides. I'm going to do the same thing to the lining. Now let me show you the cups. Can you see how beautiful that came out? Now, for some people, they are like, when they try, they have a pointy cup or whatsoever. So I've just tried to like think of easy way out. So all I did is to make sure on the pattern I placed the pattern on the fabric. After adding the 1/2 inch seam allowance, make sure you map out the exact pattern on the fabric so that it will be easy for you to sew it up. That is very, very essential. So like in this case, you match it, or when you match it up, you know on what part to sew. I think that's going to help you in having a pointy bust or whatsoever. So looking at it is so stable and beautiful. Can you see that? So let me just finish up this and the sides. I've attached the front to the back, as you can see that. Can you see that? So looking at how this goes, I'm going to trim this part the same way. So that's because of the seam allowance. Let's see what I have. So let's quickly talk about the, can you see that? These are the cups, these are the lining, and these are the main. Oh, can you see that? So with that method, I'm sure you shouldn't have any sharp edges or any pointy whatever. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to attach the cups to the main bodies. So you attach the main fabric to each other and then the lining to each other. First thing you have to do is to make sure this is the side and this is the side. So with this, you will know the side for each one. Everything has to match because we follow the pattern. So first you have to make sure this seam line matches the seam line down here. So first you have to match it this way. That will be the point where you will start from. And you see, then you just start from this beginning, then you can just sew it up and everything will match. So if it's giving you issue, you can just notch a little bit here, but it's just going to work. You don't need to notch at all. Once you put your needle in here, then just keep matching the cup all around until you have everything fixed in it. So you attach this the same way, and after doing that, you do that to the lining too. Another thing I'm just going to quickly do before I join the lining is to mark the casing point, because we are going to have casing here, this side, and all those points. All the points where we have the joint, there's going to be a casing there. And now, since I'm using the Redling bone, you can use any type of boning at all, trust me. You can use, so I'll be making use of this very one. So all you have to do is to make a casing of 1/2 inch, because when you put this 1/2 inch here, with 1/2 inch you still have spaces on the side of the boning. So all you have to do is this is 1/2 inch, so you work with 1/2 inch. So just place this 1/4 in the middle. Can you see that? I want to mark it down. So half. So I'm just going to make a straight line here, so as to know the point where to sew. That will be later, but I just like to do that on the lining first. Can you see? Then you come to this point, you mark here, then make a straight line. So put your 1/4 point here too on the same line and mark the 1/2 inch point. You also do that to this side, put it on the 1/4, half, and I'll make a straight line. Attach the cup, and you can see how beautiful that looks. Can you see? On the wrong side, this is what I have. Also the lining, can you see the lining? Yeah, and I've marked the 1/2 inch for the boning. I made one in the middle too. So first I drew a straight line on the center line, then 1/2 inch. So that's what I did. Then another thing I did was this. I did a top stitch on the cup area. This will make it more relaxed around the cup and then to support the boobs. So that is why I did that. I'm going to explain it here. So looking at it on the right side, can you see how lovely everything sits well compared to this? Here we are still having some puffiness. So what I will do now is to go and do the other one. All you have to do is to just notch this cuff part. 1, 2, then here. It's not difficult to make at all. So just push it into the cup and then you top stitch all around. That was what I did here, and this is just so beautiful. I did the same thing to the lining, and with this now we can just round up. So we just have to fix in the loop, because once we place the lining, we're just going to sew it all around except for the lower part to put the boning. So all I did was to get a bias strip. Can you see that? So I got a bias strip, and all I did was to fold it into 2. You can see that. And you see, so I just folded it into 2 and then sew on it. So how wide you want your loop to be depends on your preference. So here I have 2, here I have 2.5, and here I have 3.5. So let me just fold it for you to see how it looks. So can you see that of the 3.5, how wide it is? So it depends on how open the back of the top is. Like this, I have it wide, so I can make use of this, or even the 2.5. So this is the 2.5. Can you see that? So you can make use of either of the 2, but I'm going to make use of the 2.5 inches. So the next thing is to mark where we want the loop to be. So remember, we are going to sew off 1/2 inch. That's for the seam allowance. Yeah, so the top is actually starting from here. So you want to have one very close to that point. So you could make it like half an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So that would be the first point. So then you can determine how much loop you want to have there. So here too, also at the lower part, we'll be sewing in half an inch. So we have 6 inches. So just determine how much you want. You can make it intervals of 1 inch all through or 1.5, depending on your preference. I have fixed the loop. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops there. So the next thing was that I folded in the half an inseam allowance at the lower part here. I did the same thing on the lining, folded, because we are just going to sew everything up now. Good. Can you see that? So make sure it is folded. The lower part is folded because we are going to bring it all out from the underneath. So all you have to do is to sew in half an inch over the cup, over the middle, straight, coming here down. Only the lower part is going to be open. All the sides, starting from here, make sure it is folded before you sew that up. And I came all over here and stop here, so I have the opening here. So the next thing before you turn it, you have to notch all these upper parts, especially the cup areas. That's very then you can bring it all out. You can see how beautiful it is on the inside. Can you see that? So that's it. So beautiful and easy to make. So just bring it all out. So can you see how the loop looks now? So beautiful, so beautiful. Can you see that? And the reason why I told you to mark the boning case was because it will be easy for you to sew it down now. Can you see that? So you're just going to sew it is easy. Let me give it a good press quickly. How lovely it looks. So you can see on the wrong side you have everything still neatly done. And on the right side, this is what it looks like. So that is why I said it's a 2-in-1 tutorial, a reversible corset. So you can either use this part or use this part if you're using a nice fabric instead of the lining. So you can just see, so just look at the cup, even without having a wire or using a pad or a bra cup, you can see it's still standing. So with the boning, it just stays very nice. So that is why I said if you don't have a bra cup or wadding, you can still have your corset made. So here the fold is still intact. You can see how this came out. The fold is still there. But if you're attaching it to a skirt, trouser or whatever, you don't need to fold at all because you'll be joining to the lower part. So this is how it looks. The next thing for us now is to sew up this part that we have marked. Do that so that it will be easier for you, especially as a beginner. I could eyeball it with the seam. I know where to sew, but for you, it is advisable you mark it out. Can you see with this, it's going to be very easy for you to do. So all you have to do now is this. Make sure the fold is intact. Then go to the sewing machine. Just sew on this line. Just imagine you are using another type of fabric or a matching lining. You won't even see all these lines at all. Look at it on the right side. Can you see that? So it's invisible. That's because it's a matching thread. So you use that to the other side. But because I'm teaching, I need you to see all the same. So beautiful. The next thing we are going to do now is this. We are going to create another casing here just to make the loop area stronger. So looking at it without even having the boning, you can see it's taking shape and is looking so shapeful. So what I'm going to do now is this. Just measure half an inch. You can measure that, but I can eyeball it. This. So I'm just going to sew this down and do that to this other side. That, and I did that to this other side too. So the next thing now is for us to fix in the boning. So this is the right side. I want that to be on the main fabric. So just put it inside. Yeah. Then another thing you need to note is it has to be shorter because our seam now is just going to be very close to the end of this. So whatever boning you are inserting has to stop before that seam line. That is very important. Okay, now it's at the end. Can you see? So what I'll do now is, since it's at the end, I'm just going to bring it out a little bit and then cut, so that by the time I push it in, it's just going to be perfect. So can you see? So it stops here. So that's what we want to achieve. Can you see that looking so beautiful? So that's how I'm going to fix it to all of the casing. Can you see that? Or you can just measure it from here and then you stop around here to cut it up. Finished with the Bustier with cups, and you can see how lovely it is. I'm so much in love with it. The last thing I'm just going to do is to go to the lower part and just hem very close to this hem. You're just going to hem it all down, and that is it. So this is it on the right side. This is what it looks like. You can see it's so firm. The boning makes it so firm, and the cup is wonderful. It is also reversible if you use a very nice fabric on this side. So this is what you're just going to have. Can you see that? So wonderful. So I'm just going to hem the lower part and then put it on the mannequin for you to see the outcome of the Bustier top with cups or corsets. And it came out so beautiful. I'm so much in love with it, and you can see the boning gripping the outfit to the body of the mannequin. That is the beauty of the boning. It is beginners friendly, and our next class will be on the cage crinoline, how to add bra cups to your corset with yoke. This series is just going to be very interesting. Just stay tuned and make sure you subscribe. So I'm just going to show you the side, then the back, for you to see how well it laid. See from the top of the cups straight to the side into the back how well it laid. That is how it should be. And now let us see the back with the loop. It is wonderful and beautiful. You really need to give this a try. You could attach it to a skirt, trouser, however you just want to make it. It is a must try. And if this tutorial has been helpful, please give me a giant thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I remain your girl Bilikis. Bye guys.